much. This is great. These are our friends. We have thousands of friends in this incredible movement. This was a movement like nobody's ever seen before.
I'm Roman Gressier, the editor of Faro English, and this is Central American Minutes, our weekly brief on key stories from the region.
In Nicaragua, the house arrest of Daniel Ortega's brother
relates more to El Salvador and Honduras than to Guatemala. In the case of Guatemala,
they say globalism comes to die at CPAC, but in El Salvador, it's already dead.
Central America in Minutes on Faro English.
It's Friday, November 8th, and this week El Faro is at the Central American Journalism Forum, or FOROCAP, in Antigua, Guatemala. More on that at the end of the show. But first, Central America responds to the U.S. Republican Party's sweeping victories this week across the presidential, Senate, and House races. President Nayib Bukele of El Salvador was the first to congratulate Trump on election night, when the New York Times was already predicting that the Republican candidate had over 90% chance of victory. Bukele has been publicly close to the Trump campaign, receiving the president-elect's son and top political operative, Donald Trump Jr., at the inauguration of his unconstitutional second term in June. After Trump's victory on November 5th, the Salvadoran Press Secretariat released a readout of a call between Bukele and Trump, sending a not-so-veiled message to critical human rights, press, and civil society organizations who receive international funding. Bukele stated, quote, "We had an interesting conversation on his podcast strategy, the bullet that almost killed him, the incredible people surrounding him, the sometimes noxious effects of U.S. aid funds, NGOs backed by Soros, and our shared commitment to facing the challenges that lie ahead." Costa Rican President Rodrigo Chavez, whose 2022 campaign borrowed from MAGA rhetoric in appealing to a better Costa Rica of times past, issued standard best wishes and promised ongoing cooperation on investment and security as the country continues to face mounting violence related to drug trafficking. New conservative Panamanian President José Raúl Mulino also sent his well wishes. In Honduras, the Castro administration made its first move before the U.S. press had even called the election, announcing that Foreign Minister Enrique Reina would do a string of TV interviews the following morning. This is what he told the program Hoy Mismo.
The vision of President Xiomara Castro, as the leader of our foreign policy, is to draw closer and extend a friendly hand to a friendly country, and welcome President Trump to this group of heads of state.
The Castro administration, which identifies itself as democratic socialist, has a political motive for friendliness. They have faced staunch criticism from pro-Trump Republicans in Congress, such as from Florida Representative Maria Elvira Salazar on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. That helps explain the falling balancing act by Minister Reina on state TV on Tuesday.
Any hardening of migration policy by the Trump administration will not only affect Honduras, it will affect all of our countries, regardless of whether you are on the left or right.
The Nicaraguan presidential couple Daniel Ortega and Rosario Murillo did not directly acknowledge Trump's victory, a far cry from their Venezuelan ally Nicolás Maduro, who called the election result a, quote, new start for bilateral relations. But the Nicaraguan regime did release a statement that, quote, "We salute the people of the United States of North America, the protagonists of a new electoral campaign, who have expressed their aspirations and needs of daily life." In Guatemala, corrupt top prosecutors have sought to cast themselves as close to the Trump campaign. President Bernardo Arévalo posted an expected message to Trump on X. He stressed the, quote, "common principles that have brought our nations together in the 175 years of diplomatic relations and friendship." But perhaps more revealing was prosecutor Rafael Curruchiche, the right hand of Attorney General Consuelo Porras, in internationally repudiated efforts last year to prevent Arévalo from taking office, including by brazenly and illegally confiscating ballot boxes. Curruchiche, who in recent weeks has posted pictures in Trump gear claiming he received it from the campaign team, wrote that, quote, "My friend Trump won it all." He then baselessly asserted irregularities in last year's election before adding, quote, I will continue to defend democracy and the electoral system. For more on how Central American leaders are reading the Trumpian regional political waters and carving their own domestic political messaging from the U.S. turmoil, go to our front page at elfaro.net/en and read our July 17th article, Central America Puts Local Spin on Trump Shooting. In San Salvador, my colleague Victoria Delgado published an investigative report into the holdings of the Office of the President. Between September 2023 and May 2024, the presidency purchased 3 lots surrounding Nayib Bukele's personal residence for a total of $1,443,000, according to public property records that Delgado obtained. There's no official information on the reasons for these purchases, but another presidential residence already exists in San Salvador. This is Victoria discussing the implications of her revelations.
It's
concerning that no official information explains what the reason was for buying those lots around the residence of Nayib Bukele, and that we did not receive any official response after publishing. In the 2023 and 2024 budgets, there is no allotment for the purchase and construction of this real estate for the Office of the President. But we do know that, in the 2025 budget, the presidency will have $18 million available, with no specification of how it will be used.
The woman who requested the purchase is Bukele's longtime family confidant and financial operative Claudia Juana Rodriguez, whom he appointed as interim president months prior to the end of his first term, in a fraudulent effort to claim that he had duly left office and could run for re-election. Rodriguez never appeared in public during this period. Our last segment is on a pair of high-stakes war crimes cases in Guatemala. But first, I have an invitation for you. This year, El Faro turned 26. That's over 2.5 decades of translating, documenting, chronicling, and now podcasting Central America. You can support independent journalism in Central America by joining our crowdfunding community at support.elfaro.net. And be sure to click that subscribe button. Drop us a review. Our mantra this year at El Faro English is simple: journalism must go on. In Guatemala, on November 5th, an appellate court annulled 8 years of legal proceedings in the Creompas forced disappearance case and ordered over a dozen retired military officers to be freed. The defense argued that the high-stakes tribunal that ordered the trial was not the correct forum. Creompas is the acronym of an infamous Guatemalan military base in Coban, where the remains of over 500 people were found in clandestine graves, tied by the hands and feet. It is one of the most notorious forced disappearance cases in all of Latin America. One of the men accused in the ensuing case is Benedicto Lucas García, who also stands accused in the ongoing Ixil genocide case, which we reported on last week. But according to the daily newspaper Prensa Libre, the Constitutional Court had already upheld Benedicto Lucas's exoneration in the Creompas case in February. The High Court will likely now review the decision to annul all legal proceedings in the case since 2016. Meanwhile, in the Ixil genocide case, Attorney General Consuelo Porras fired the prosecutor assigned to the case from the Human Rights Office of the Public Prosecutor's Office on November 4th, just days before a verdict was expected, adding uncertainty about the short-term timeline of hearings and the state's legal strategy as they approach the end of proceedings. My colleague Juliana Ramazzini confirmed with 2 of the plaintiff organizations that the Attorney General did indeed remove prosecutor Eric de Leon, discarding other possibilities like a routine reassignment. Perhaps it was no coincidence when, 2 days later, on Wednesday, the retired general, Benedicto Lucas, attended his next hearing over video conference from the military hospital where he has stood trial, wearing a navy blue Donald Trump hat. Thanks for listening to Central American Minutes. I wrote today's episode with production and original soundtrack by Omnion. Tomorrow, I'll be moderating a panel at the Central American Journalism Forum, in Spanish, on the political impact of the U.S. election for Central America, with former Costa Rican President Laura Chinchilla and recent White House advisor Emily Mendrala. Sign up for our newsletter on our website to get that conversation in your inbox in the next few days. Un abrazo.